What are top financial crime risks and indicators for financial institutions like banks? We know that there are different kinds of financial crime risks which are faced by the financial institutions, but here we are focusing on the three core or three main important financial crime risks which are being faced by the financial institutions. And what are the indicators we will be discussing here? So, first of all, we have money laundering and then we have sanctions evasion. These two are more related to the compliance side of the institution. And then we have the digital and cyber frauds. Digital and cyber fraud include the overall institution, such as the payments, such as the onboarding of customers, such as providing the information security or data security, securing the resources or intellectual properties of the institution, etc., etc. So, digital and cyber fraud financial crimes are on the increasing trend due to the increased digitalization efforts by the institutions. And further, we are also foreseeing the recession, and due to the geopolitical tension and inflationary pressures, people are losing their money and funds, and the criminals are trying to penetrate into the financial channels and systems in different obvious means or sub-obvious means which are hidden. So these financial crime risk categories, including the money laundering, sanctions evasion, digital or cyber frauds, are on the increasing trends, and management need to understand how these risks are to be catered, especially in the digitalization era, and how artificial intelligence and machine learning can play the role in overall management of these risks. So, when we talk about the money laundering and the reason or risk indicators of money laundering for a financial institution, we have number one, the inappropriate customer due diligence processes and practices. If the institution has not updated its policies, procedures in line with international best practices, especially the FATF recommendations for CDD and KYC, and including the local regulatory requirements covering this customer due diligence, or you can say the know your customers regulations and laws. So the institution is on the risk of facing the money laundering incidents. Then we have non-identification and verification of high-risk customers before and after onboarding. Before and after onboarding is important here because it might be the case when the customer is onboarded, the customer was the normal customer, or you can see the regular customer, but after onboarding or after establishing the relationship with the customer becomes the high risk customers due to various reasons, including due to trading with the high risk jurisdictions or due to the family background, which the institution get to know after onboarding that the customer is a high risk category. So the identification and verification of high risk customers is important for the financial institutions, and if this is the weak area, then the money laundering risks are in place or there for the financial institutions. Then non-screening from relevant sanctions list. We know that at the time of onboarding, especially the financial institutions are required to screen the names of the individuals and entities from different sanctions lists, like prescribed by the United Nations, European Union, and HM Treasury, etc., or OFAC, you can say. So, non-screening is also one of the indicator that money laundering risk might be in the financial institutions. Further, digital onboarding or non-face-to-face onboarding of the customer is also an area which have increased the money laundering risk for the financial institutions, and this is all about the digitalization side. So, we should understand that AI and machine learning can play a significant role here in order to control the overall digital onboarding process and in order to prevent the money laundering incidents. Then the non-identification and verification of true beneficial owners is also an indicator. Beneficial owners are for the legal entities are, or you can say in most of the cases might be hidden or not identified due to the human error or due to the onboarding processes weaknesses. So if this is the case, then money laundering risk might occur, and institution need to understand the loopholes in the existing processes and systems, why the beneficial owners are not being identified at the time of onboarding. Onboarding customers belonging to high risk jurisdictions again is a risk indicator for money laundering. Then we have onboarding customers doing businesses in high risk jurisdictions. So customers belonging to high risk jurisdictions and customers doing businesses in high risk jurisdictions, these are two different things. And by belonging, we mean that either the customer was born in the high risk jurisdiction and his or her family is residing in that country, and he is transferring funds in that jurisdiction. And when we talk about doing businesses in high risk jurisdictions, it might be the case where the individual customer might be the citizen of the home country, but he has established businesses, or he is doing businesses or trading with the institutions or groups in the high risk jurisdictions. So these two might also be considered as the money laundering risk indicators when we talk about the financial crime side. Inappropriate or irrelevant transaction thresholds for transaction monitoring. Usually, the transaction thresholds are not set by the institutions according to the actual risk profile or business profile of the customers. Therefore, if the transaction threshold is not effective, or the transaction threshold is not matching with the actual risk profile or the business history of the institution or individual customer, then obviously the monitoring which the institution is going to perform after onboarding would not be that effective. So, inappropriate or irrelevant transaction thresholds lead to ineffective transaction monitoring and ultimately the increase in the financial crime risk, which is money laundering. Then we have use of old KYC for alert investigations. If the institution is not updating the KYC of the customers from time to time, then it means that when the alert is pop up, then there is the possibility that the AML team or the person who is investigating the relevant alert or pop up would be using the old KYC profile of the customer. And if this is the case, then obviously the investigation would not be that effective, and institutions are required to take the countermeasures in order to ensure that the KYCs of the customers are periodically reviewed and updated by the relevant personnel in the institution. Irrelevant negative media searches performed by the institutions might also be the risk indicator for money laundering, and negative media searches are usually not performed in most of the cases, and might also be performed in an ineffective manner, like not matching the true names or true matches, or unable to give the search query to the negative media portals available to the institutions. So, in most jurisdictions and in most established countries like US, Canada, and when we talk about the Europe side, the institutions are matured enough to perform the relevant negative media searches and using the available portals to ensure that money laundering risks are not inherent in onboarding a particular customer.